Hi, this is Mr. G. When I'm talking to my students about things that they need to know and memorize, I tell them, and it sounds contradictory, I don't want you to memorize this. And they'll say, but how am I supposed to remember it? I said, memorizing and remembering are two different things. In my mind, I look at memorizing as like when I was in high school and I had a test coming up. I would cram the night before the test and memorize as much of the stuff as I could. And then as soon as the test was over, the stuff just exited my brain. It didn't hang around. But I noticed that the things that I repetitively did stuck with me longer. If I had to figure something out every time I did it, eventually I become very quick at figuring it out, and eventually it just becomes pure memory. So I tell them not to memorize, but to figure something out every time they need to figure something out, and that eventually they'll end up remembering it. Case in point, at one point, I was studying the book of 1 Timothy in the New Testament. And I spent a long time on it. I mean, I really went into a deep dive. And one day somebody asked me a question about it and I ended up quoting the entire first chapter of 1 Timothy. And I never set out to memorize the first chapter of 1 Timothy. But I spent so much time in 1 Timothy that I ended up remembering it. I didn't memorize it, but I ended up remembering it. So in today's lesson, where we're going to be finding notes on the neck of our guitar, I'm not going to tell you what the name of every note is. I'm going to give you some landmark frets, and you'll have to memorize that. You'll have to figure that out. But it's very minimal effort. And you're going to figure that out, and these landmark frets will become your reference points finding every other note on the guitar. So let's get started, all right? All right, this is Paige, Mr. G, and I'm going to be giving a lesson on landmark frets on the guitar. Start off with, you know the names of the strings of the guitar. E, A, D, G, B, and E. Each one of these frets represents a half step. That means between any two adjacent notes, there's going to be a flat note or a sharp note, and I'll explain that here in a second. With two exceptions, there's no notes in between E and F and B and C. So if this is fat E, right here, fat E, here's F, no E sharp, F sharp, G, G sharp, A sharp, B. The next note is not B sharp, it's C, because there's no notes between B and C. C, C sharp, D, D sharp, E. Now the landmark frets on all the strings, open string, is the 7th fret is the 5th. This is E, right? E. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. E, F, G, A, B. So this note is a B. That's a landmark note. And the double dot fret that you see here, right down there, that's the octave. An octave is the same note as the open string. So that's an E. So we have E, B, and E. Now, once you know those notes on your fat E string, any other note is going to be somewhere close to that. Now we have one more special note on the string though. We'll look at the 5th fret. The 5th fret, how do I know what the name of that note is? Well, the 5th fret happens to be the same name as a string right underneath it, the A. So the 5th fret is an A. So this is E, A, B, and E. So any note you'd want to find is somewhere around those notes. Use those notes as your landmark to navigate to whatever note you want. Now, I look at the 3rd fret on the fat E string especially, and G chord's a really common chord, right? Well, G chord gets its name from the fact that this is a G. So I know that this is a G. So I have E, G, A, B, and then E. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4. I have 4 notes named on that fat E string. I can find any note in that string that I want based on those. Now, sharps and flats. Sharps and flats are used by composers, generally speaking, if a music line is ascending, going upwards, and they have to move a note up by half a step, they will sharp the next note. If the line is moving downwards, they'll flat it, even though the note sounds the same. For instance, E, F, F sharp, because I'm moving up, G. But if I'm going backwards, I'll go G, G flat, F, E. Starting from the 12th fret, again, 12th fret of the fat E string is an E. E, E flat, D, D flat, C. No flat or sharp between C and B, so the next note is B. B flat, A flat, G, G flat, F, and then there's no F flat, just E. Now on the A string, I'll just give it to you. A, this is a C. Why is it like a C chord's really popular, right? This is a C because that note's a C. So I'm going to go A, C, D, because the 5th fret of the A string is the same as a D string right underneath it. So this is A, C, D. The 7th fret is a 5th. What's the 5th above an A? A, B, C, D, E. E. So this note's an E. So you have A, C, D, E, and then the 12th fret. That's the octave. That's an A. D, 5th fret is a G, because the 5th fret of the D string is the same as the G string underneath it. So there's D. Then the 7th fret is, this is a G. 7th fret is an A. That's the 5th note. D, E, F, G, A. But there's also another reason why it's an A. See that note right there? A? That's the same as a fat string right above it. That's an octave. So this note is an octave of that string. That's another way you can reference it. The 7th fret of the A string is an octave of the fat E string. So that's another way you know that it's an E. See how this works? So the dots I pay particular attention to when I'm figuring my landmark notes are the 5th fret, the 7th fret, and the 12th fret. 5th fret, it's the same as the note of the string right underneath it. The 7th fret, it's the same as the string just above it. Like this note here, that's an A. And the string underneath it is an A. That's how we know it's an A. And then the 12th fret, that's the octave. The name of that note is the same as the string you're on. D. Now, the G string. This one's a little bit different because the relationship between the G and the B is a little bit different. Instead of the 5th fret, the 4th fret of the G is the same as the B string, so it's a B note. But the 7th fret, that acts like all the other ones. That's a D because it's the same, it's an octave above the string right above it, the D string. D, D, high D, low D. And the 12th fret, that's a G, 12th fret G. Now B, back to business as normal. The 5th fret of the B string is the same as the skinny E string underneath it, so that note is an E. Now instead of the 7th fret, I have to go to the 8th fret again because the B string is a weirdo. It's tuned a little bit different than the rest of them. The 8th fret of the B string is the octave of the G above it. The 12th fret, same-o, same-o. It's a B because the string is a B. Now, the E The skinny E string, same note names as the fat E string. It's just a couple octaves higher. E, this would be A, B, and E again. Does that make sense? I hope so. I'll be doing some more short and sweet videos that have to do with navigating around the neck, but that should give you enough to get started. All right, it's Mr. G. I'm out of here.